Welcome to today's explainer. Pull up a metaphorical chair, settle in, and let's take a relaxing journey far back in time. We are going to uncover some truly forgotten secrets of human survival. Together, we'll explore exactly how prehistoric families and our early ancestors managed to make it through environments so brutal they'd make our modern winters feel like a warm spring afternoon.
So here's the central mystery we are unpacking today. Just think about this for a second. How exactly did your ancestors survive the Ice Age, or those endless, brutal Arctic winters, without a modern fireplace? No central heating, no radiators, not even a properly drafting chimney for thousands of years? The freezing historical landscape wasn't just the weather, it was the ultimate predator that was constantly hunting them. Let's look at how human ingenuity actually faced down this icy monster. Chapter 1: The Frozen Ancient World.
To really grasp the genius of ancient survival, we kind of have to strip away every single modern comfort we take for granted. Today, we just click a thermostat, turn on an electric blanket, and watch the snow from behind double-paned insulated windows. But ancient winter, we're talking about Subzero lethal cold. Temperatures dropping so fast that the moisture on your face would literally freeze your eyelashes in seconds. Relentless blizzards that could trap families for days or even weeks. Survival in this environment definitely wasn't a given. It was a grueling daily battle against a world actively trying to freeze you solid. History really loves to remember the great battles, the sieges, and the clashing of swords. But honestly, the real war, the longest and most desperate war humanity ever fought, was against the cold. Whether it was prehistoric families migrating across frozen tundras or 9th century Norse communities trying to survive an endless Arctic night, these extreme temperatures required incredible adaptation. It demanded a sheer, unbreakable toughness that is almost hard for us to comprehend today. So how did they fight back? Chapter 2: Shelters Made of Earth. Well, when you can't defeat the elements, you have to find a way to hide from them, and they use the very ground beneath their feet to do it. The architectural methods our ancestors used were nothing short of ingenious. They essentially built what we can think of as a giant, ancient thermos. First, you dig deep into the earth, using the ground's natural insulation to escape the biting surface winds. Second, you build incredibly thick walls made of turf and dirt. And third, you actually bring the livestock inside. That's right, in places like Viking longhouses or prehistoric underground shelters, they didn't just use fire. They used the earth itself and the presence of heavy, warm animals to trap and circulate heat. It was a perfectly balanced, enclosed microclimate. And the resourcefulness here is just staggering. They came up with some bizarre but absolutely brilliant insulation techniques. We mentioned thick turf and earth, but how about packed seaweed? Or, and this is a personal favorite, dried fish walls. Yes, 9th century Vikings would literally stack dry fish to block drafts in their smoky longhouses. I mean, it probably didn't smell great, but hey, it stopped the wind. And when it came to personal insulation, they obviously didn't have thermal socks. Instead, they wore boots stuffed tightly with hay. If it works, right? And this wasn't just a Viking trick either. So many diverse groups across history utilized these exact methods. Native Americans designing systems to survive negative 40-degree winters with zero firewood, medieval peasants in the 1300s, and even American pioneers in the 1800s frequently built underground or semi-subterranean shelters. Across completely different eras and continents, humanity arrived at the same brilliant conclusion. To escape the deadly surface winds with zero modern technology, you basically have to let the earth embrace you. Chapter 3: Surviving Through Body Heat. Now we're shifting our focus from the physical architecture of the shelter to the intensely communal aspect of ancient survival. Today, we really value our personal space and privacy, but in an ancient winter, communal living was a strict survival necessity. Personal space basically meant death by freezing. Imagine the visceral experience inside a longhouse or an earth lodge. The air is thick and smoky because there isn't a modern drafting chimney. The warmth isn't coming from a roaring hearth, it's coming entirely from shared body heat. Humans packed closely together, sharing the exact same breathing space with goats, cows, and whatever livestock kept the community fed. That animal heat was a literal lifesaver. Which brings us to a harsh historical reality, perfectly captured by this idea. Survival in the ancient winter wasn't just about shelter. It was about community, adaptation, and sharing the warmth of the herd. Enduring the brutal winter required intense togetherness. Isolation in the Ice Age or during a harsh medieval winter was a death sentence. You survived simply because your family, your neighbors, and your herd kept you warm. It was the ultimate team effort. So, what did that actually look like in practice? Well, it meant communal sleeping piles. Families huddled together in one massive group just to minimize the surface area exposed to the cold. We already mentioned sharing space with livestock, but there was also the absolute necessity of sleeping in strategic shifts. Early communities and medieval peasants literally adapted their sleep habits. Some people would sleep while others stayed awake to tend the smoldering embers, making sure the core temperature of the dwelling never dropped below fatal levels.
Chapter 4. Our Legacy of Resilience.
Let's pull all of this together and see how this ultimate test of endurance shaped us. Thousands. For thousands of years, humanity survived exclusively using the exact communal and architectural methods we just laid out. Long before modern heating ever existed, before coal furnaces or electric grids, your ancestors looked out at an environment that regularly dropped to -40 degrees, and they found a way to live through it. This actually brings up a really fascinating historical debate: extreme endurance versus genius architecture. When historians look back at prehistoric families or Iron Age Scandinavia, they often ask themselves, did these people survive just because they could endure horrific amounts of pain and discomfort? Or did they survive because their earth lodges, their use of livestock, and their seaweed insulation were acts of sheer architectural genius? The truth, of course, is that it was both. They engineered brilliant solutions and they had an unbreakable will to live. Which leaves us with a lingering thought. Every single one of us is alive today only because our ancestors survived the Ice Age. Knowing they conquered the frozen world with nothing but seaweed, earth walls, and the body heat of their community, do you still carry that ultimate resilience in your modern DNA? The next time you feel a chill in the air and reach for the thermostat, maybe take a moment to remember the generations who faced down the freezing cold and won. They shaped our modern world through pure endurance. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep wondering, keep learning, and stay warm out there.